And
All right. So, anything else you guys want to add about that? How you guys got together? How you first met?
well, that was Eric, and then Mitch I heard about from Sherelle Cassie. Uh, as far as instrumentalist and vibe player up in Wisconsin. So actually, I didn't think I met him till the session.
So that morning, I was like, I'm here, and you like came out on the lawn or whatever to grab my stuff.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, we had some Zoom sessions,
yeah,
preparing for the set for the the actual recording date, but we all weren't in the same room together until the day of the recording.
yeah. It's interesting with the pandemic and COVID. It's like I feel like I've met this person a bunch of times, but actually, I really haven't ever.
Right. Things have changed definitely. Um, and how did this project kind of develop? Was it one of you guys who had the initial idea? Um,
Yeah, I had the idea. I've been thinking about it for years, but I just had a bunch of other stuff to do, just trying to
mhm,
make a living and playing. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I could actually do this.
mhm.
So then I was thinking about what formats, and I had a whole bunch of formats in my head. And I was like, I need to keep it small. I need some people who's going to check out the music, and that's going to be able to record in this little studio I built. So then I started listening to different things, and I asked Eric, and we started going back and forth with different material. And then after hearing that, I was like, oh yeah, I like this vibe stuff. And then Sherelle was like, yeah, we just did this project with this guy you might want to meet. And I listened to him. I said, oh, this may work out.
That so it's called Regalito, right? The project. And like, what does this title mean to you? Maybe as individuals, but and or as a collective,
Yeah, the El Regalito is a little gift.
right?
It's
In
a it's
Spanish.
it's a little means little gift in Spanish.
So is that what you think of as terms of this project? It's kind of a little gift to the world.
I think for us, I mean, like the holiday time is about sharing, your loves and your and good times with people, and what a better way to do that than with music. We're certainly very lucky to have the gift of music in our life, and that we can share that,
Mm.
um, with this project, especially, that we can share that in general is great, but then especially too around in the holiday season is great. It's really very special.
Yeah. Eric or Richard, do you have anything to add about the title?
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet.
That's it. That sums it up.
All right.
The
I
album
like
is
it.
our gift, and music is our gift.
Right.
Right? It's we have the gift, and we want to share it.
All right. I like it. So this is clearly a cross-cultural project, and I'm just curious, what value do you think there is in this kind of musical diversity, this kind of musical cross-pollination? Richard, maybe since you kind of came up with the idea.
Um, I mean, nowadays, well, let me start by saying I generally think most music of substance has value and is needed because there's not that much music in schools and places where people have access to it, period. So, that's an overall statement, but
Mhm.
focusing specifically on this, being able to bring two different cultures or styles together, for me is not easy. It's not new, but I think it's important that people can see, oh, it's all music. Oh, these guys are playing some Latin stuff, they're playing some jazz stuff, they're improvising, but it's over tunes we know. You know, one of the things I hear all the time is, yeah, I don't know about jazz or improvisation because I don't understand it. Well, if you don't understand jingle bells and these tunes, maybe you're from a different place. So, yeah. What do you think,
And I
Eric?
think I think this is cool, a particularly cool opportunity to bring listeners together who typically gravitate towards certain directions in their own personal experience with music. You got, all of the tunes on this album are going to be recognizable to most people because they're
Right.
commonly heard around the holidays. So that's got that, obvious appeal to it. But, I think that what we recorded speaks to people that don't necessarily listen to jazz on a regular
Right.
basis because we're living in, multiple worlds here. We're presenting something that's, very enjoyable and festive and holiday, but it's got some serious jazz language in there. So it's going to appeal to the jazz listener and, the more casual listener. And also, it's got some serious Latin players on the album that are playing some
Some
really really exciting stuff, and you know that's gonna appeal to a Latin audience as well, or someone who listens to a lot of salsa, Latin jazz, Caribbean music. So in order to be able to bring folks who are living in all three of those different worlds together, I think is a pretty cool and exciting thing.
for me, I mean, we're all of us are educators, and that's part of what we do,
Mhm.
and how like personally, performing music and writing music and stuff sustains me as an artist just as much as sharing my own experience and teaching. And one of the albums that, like, if somebody goes, "Yeah, I really don't like jazz," or whatever, I hip them. The first thing I do, I say, "Okay, you need to go look. You need to go look up the Duke Ellington, Billy Strayhorn, Tchaikovsky version of the Nutcracker, because you've heard the Nutcracker a gazillion times, and
Yeah.
this is how it was reinterpreted by two giants of our American art form." And that, a lot of times, for like a novice jazz listener, you can get them hooked or get them interested in learning more about the depth of the history and the depth of the musicianship with an entree using holiday music as
Right.
the entry point, something that they're extremely familiar with, that also is like not too adventurous but
Right.
sounds really good.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Strayhorn Nutcracker is really adventurous in its, for like jazz heads for sure. But
Yeah.
if you were your neighbor or whatever, is going to be like, whoa, this is like a jazz version of Sugar Plum Fairy. They called it Sugar Rum Cherry. That's so cool. And it's like
Yeah.
sounds all swanky, right? But
I
for
can
us,
vibe with that. Yeah.
right, and then for us, we've done um like um uh um oh my god, well, two of my tunes, that the two tunes that I contributed. One was a very old, um, the carol that is "Bring Her Towards Jeanette Isabella," which is kind of a underneath, not super well known, and is usually done in 3/4 time. Is very like da 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 da, is like that. But we put a groovy bomba spin from Puerto Rico on it. We did a bomba sica version of that. Um, SICA, version of that song. So, to like get people in with songs that they know, and then we did Little Drummer Boy. Everybody knows that tune. We did Silent Night, all the and like the version of Jingle Bells starts out like real straight ahead and then goes to this like real modern floaty improvisation thing, but it's super grooving, so it's like you use a I'm rambling here, I'm sorry.
I
Yeah.
think
No.
all
It
of the
makes sense.
Stop.
if I
You get
can
the
jump
point.
in on that, I think that it's an important point to observe that all of the arrangements on this album, there are a lot of clever thought went into those choices.
Yeah.
We have Silent Night as an up-tempo cha-cha, which you typically hear Silent Night as kind of a slow ballad. And we
Yeah.
have, like Mitch said, a French carol being presented in the Puerto Rican Sika format, and Richard's really amazing arrangement of Jingle Bells,
Right.
which kind of has this tongue-in-cheek nod to the cowbell. Like each section of the tune has a different, really funky cowbell groove going on in it. Hence the Jingle
Right.
Bell, So we tried to be creative by selecting tunes that people are maybe gonna recognize. Some of them are a little more obscure, but present them in a really hip way that maybe you've never heard before. I'm sure.
One tune I think too that's kind of a deep cut is the walking in the air song. Like personally, I'm okay. So when I went to IU for music school, Steve Houghton always did a Christmas jazz lesson, and my freshman, I'm Jewish, and like my freshman year, he goes I walk in, and he's like, "Have you heard this song?" And it's all these songs from the Charlie Brown Christmas special, and for my 18 years of my life, I'd never seen the Charlie Brown Christmas special, and he. And he's like, "Have you heard this one?" I'm like, "No." He plays me another one. No. Plays me another one. He goes, "Are you an American?" It was so funny.
I'm just Jewish.
No, I was like, "No, man, I'm just Jewish. I'm like, this is not my thing." I'm like, "I'm sorry, bro." He was like, "You need to go watch this tonight. Like, it's very important." And like, here I am having we recorded, the theme, the Peanuts theme song. Also on this, but I think but everybody has their different. Like Eric, you said that your family's you're like a holiday movie for you and your family was the song was where Walking on Air came from, right?
Yeah, the track "Walking in the Air" was an arrangement that I chose to do because I have a personal connection to it.
Right. Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, there's an obscure, I guess obscure because most of the people I talk to haven't really heard of it, but it's a Christmas movie called The Snowman. And it started out as a children's book with illustrations, and then they made a hand-drawn colored pencil and crayon animation short film of the movie, and all the music was scored by Howard Blake, and it's kind of like a ballet, but illustrated. So there's no dialogue throughout the entire
Fantasia,
film. It's just an orchestral score.
Right.
And the climax of the film is the scene where the boy is flying through the air, hand in hand with a snowman, and the music is called "Walking in the Air." So I took that because it had that holiday connection. It's got a special meaning for myself and my family because I grew up watching that cartoon and reading that book. But not everybody is gonna know that melody. Maybe it'll inspire some people to look it up. But trying to think outside of the box with how can we pick some material that has to do with the holidays, but is not necessarily something that everybody's always used to hearing.
Yeah, it's nice to have that balance, right? It's like if every single one is like a cookie cutter, song that you hear when you're at the grocery store in December, it's like that maybe has, it's always nice when you can open up some ears and get people curious about the things they're hearing. So if you have a nice blend, it's like you're pulling them in with that familiarity, but then you're going to hit them with, funky arrangements and then also tunes that they're just not familiar with at all. So I think it's a good approach. Yeah. So moving on, where was this recorded? I know it was recorded at the Jazz Place, so I kind of don't need to ask that question, but I was curious how this may have been affected by the pandemic. Did it get delayed? Did you guys just come up with this idea recently? How did things maybe get kind of different?
Fortunately, this one didn't get delayed because I was like, everything's got to be on time, if not super early. Yeah, so fortunately that was really good, and things went really smoothly. A lot of projects that have been done, everybody's composing, writing tunes. There's a format to getting these things done, via Dropbox or WeTransfer, sharing the information, Zoom calls.
Right.
Everything goes on time and scheduled, then you can come up with a really good project pretty efficiently.
Right.
Especially if you have people who are on top of their game. So,
right.
One of the things I'm always trying to do is get people I want to work with, but at the same time, people I know who's going to do the work.
Yeah.
Because if not, something that's supposed to happen in a week can now happen 8 months later.
Right. People who might flake on you or whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so basically you guys have all adapted pretty well to the sort of new normal of, connecting over Zoom calls, sharing stuff over the cloud, sharing your
Remote
ideas.
collaboration.
Yeah. Virtual
Yeah.
collaboration. Yeah. So it
Yeah.
wasn't really a hang up too much for you guys in terms of maybe having to do a little bit of stuff, online or yeah.
Hey,
not for me. I actually like it this way, to be
Mm.
and
honest.
I got to put some miles on my car. That was kind of cool. I hadn't had a road gig in a while. I came down from Milwaukee, so
How far of a drive is that?
it was like an hour and 45
Okay.
there. Yeah.
I'm
To
not
be
familiar with
honest,
the Midwest, so I had no idea if that was like 6 hours or 45 minutes. So, Eric, were you going to add something?
yeah, this whole method of working is not anything new, but I think that the, Zoom connection and the, this whole, now it's normal to be having collaborations that are a little outside of your local circle. That part of it
Right.
is a little more new, or a little more accessible than before. But the idea of getting together professionals, um, who put in the work, write really clean charts, send out the charts. Everybody learns their part, versus getting together, rehearsing, and trying to come up with something. It's just a much more efficient way to work, and then it also gives you the opportunity, to work with folks who live outside of your, because you only need to get together on the day of the recording or maybe for one short rehearsal. And you
Right.
can make some really cool stuff happen if you're working with the right people. And this is an example of that.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I want to just ask a little bit about your composing process. Did you guys discuss your composing process? Did you do that pretty individually and then you kind of just came together and kind of settled on things? How did that work for you? Richard, did you kind of oversee that aspect or?
I'm pretty flexible in most of the groups that play. People probably say that. For me, I want to see what people are going to bring, and then from there, just kind of say, okay, we can't have 10 tunes that are 3/4 or 6 tunes that are all happy major tunes. And it's just kind of a matter of, okay, these two. But for the most part, to me, it was pretty easy. Everybody said, I do this. And then you can adjust tempos a little bit according to things that are in the same range. But yeah, as far as composing, for me, it was like, oh, I think I'll do these 2 tunes. What do I hear? I wrote them, put them in the box. Mitch had these tunes. It was like, okay, that's cool. Eric had these tunes. It's like, oh, it kind of worked out,
Right.
thankfully.
Is
Like I
this
said, once again, that goes to, I think, picking the right people.
right?
A lot of it.
The holiday spirit and the spirit of collaboration was shining at the top of the tree, for sure. Definitely, the star was.
It was
Eric?
definitely important when we were, brainstorming what tunes are we going to do. It was important, since this is a Latin jazz album, to represent a lot of different styles and grooves from Latin America. So that was definitely like on the drawing board before we even decided anything. We got to have a 6/8. We got to have an up tempo mambo salsa tune.
Cha-cha.
We got to have something slow. We got to have a cha cha. And so
Bolero.
then, once we have that variety, then we start to think about, okay, what tunes would make what Christmas song would make a good cha-cha? What Christmas song would make a good 6/8? At least that's the way that I approached it with the 4 tunes that I contributed. And then trying to connect the material on even maybe a little bit of a deeper level, like with the Linus and Lucy or Linus and Lucinda arrangement. Richard and I had discussed what was the sound of this album going to be like, and we both kind of agreed that we liked the sound of the classic Cal Tjader Latin Quintet, which was put together in the late '50s between vibraphonist Cal Tjader and the bassist Al McKibben. 2 guys who were both born in the United States in Chicago in the Midwest, and decided that they really loved Latin music, and they teamed up with the great Cuban conguero Mongo Santa Maria, and the great timbalero Willie Bobo from Harlem in New York City, and put together this killing. Oh, and also, excuse me, the pianist Vince Guaraldi
Right. Who
put together
Vince
this.
Guaraldi wrote all the music for the Peanuts.
Yeah.
That's where I was going with this. So that's why I chose that tune, because okay, we're going for this Cal Tjader Quintet sound. The Cal Tjader Quintet featured Vince Guaraldi as the pianist, who also happens to have composed a lot of this Peanuts music that's associated with the holidays. So that's why that tune made it particularly, it was a good fit for the project because it connected on multiple levels.
Yeah. So you saw yourself maybe as a little bit in the footsteps of some of these kind of people, from the Midwest, but you're kind of showing your love of Latin music and making this kind of multicultural enterprise. So
absolutely.
I certainly wouldn't be like playing Latin jazz without the influence of my teachers, and their like the spirit of creativity, I guess, is imbued in me and in us too. I mean, like to put, I guess, like worldly spins on familiar tunes, I guess, is something that like was really imparted on me very strongly from my teachers, Michael Spiro and Wayne Wallace, two gentlemen who are based in San Francisco in the Bay Area. And then, so I guess the first gentleman, Mike Spiro, is really deep into very traditional Afro-Cuban Santeria percussion. It's called bata drumming, and that the rhythm, the song "We Three Kings" features it's kind of like a watered down cha cha lopa boom kind of boom ding ding boom ding boom ding ding boom, right, Eric? I think that's kind of like where it is.
or an Afro group.
Like, so having that like really traditional element on that song was kind of inspired that way. The very first track on the Cal Tjader Mongo Santa Maria record, called El Sonido, Nuevo Sonido, or Sonido Nuevo, the new sounds, has that beat, boom, ding 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 ding, like almost to, it's basically, I like grafted We Three Kings onto that song and see what happens. But then you get a little bit deeper, the Spanish, so the words We Three Kings of Orient are, then you get like the Spanish, I like Googled up like what's the Spanish version of We Three Kings, and they call it Del Oriente Somos, when like we are from the Orient, from the desert. But then you go into Cuba and then you say like I've learned that like I've never been to Cuba. I'd love to go, but I guess from what I understand is that like the country folks, they say they're from, there's an area, it's called El Oriente.
Correct. Yep.
Which is like so crazy to me that like it's like We Three Kings del Oriente Somos, but like the Cuban music is from like the folk music, it's from Oriente in Cuba. It's just like, it makes sense. It's this like weird tangential snowball spiral thing. And then the other, so that's my story about that song. And then the other one, the bomba of which I love, Eric, I love the Bring Your Drums. Awesome. Bring Your Drums. It's a bomba. It's great. One of my other teachers, Brent Wallerab, he, like, I don't know Christmas tunes off the top of my head, but he said that one of his favorite songs, one of his favorite songs is the Bring Your Torch of Jeanette Isabella, just for the like how beautiful that melody is. And I'm like, why don't we do this? And like for me, that's kind of to do an arrangement in a Latin jazz style is my tribute to Wayne Wallace, trombone player of Latin jazz fame, and then also my other teacher Brent, his favorite Christmas tune. So that's kind of where those
nice.
Yeah.
So, Richard, could you quickly walk me through the other musicians that contributed to the recording?
Yeah, I met them via Eric. I asked who were the best guys for this job, so I'll let him tell you
Okay.
about them. Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for asking that. Um,
Yeah.
we got an incredible bass player and incredible percussionists involved in this project. Our bassist, his name is Freddie Quintero, and I've known Freddie for about 6 years. He moved to Chicago from Punto Fijo, Venezuela, right before I moved to Chicago from Arizona. And we both kind of got to the city at the same time. We were both looking for projects and looking for, music opportunities. And I met him on the very first day that I was in Chicago. He was playing with a band at the Taste of Chicago, a salsa band, and we hit it off. And we started a group together called Pan Dulce, and we've been playing together in that group and a lot of other projects for the last 6 years. So that's where my connection to Freddie comes from. And he was just such a perfect fit for this project. Incredible bassist, really enthusiastic, easy to work with. And also, he was just kind of getting into playing baby bass right around the time that we decided to do this project. And, the baby bass is just what this needs. This is a perfect fit.
Sound.
So that was
like a small stand-up bass, or?
Yeah, it's an electric stand-up bass.
Yeah.
And
It's like a
yeah,
cross between an electric and an upright.
and it has this very perfect sound for Latin jazz, salsa, or Latin dance music because it has a really punchy attack that you don't get out of a full-size double bass. It almost sounds like a conga drum every time you play a note on the baby bass, and it just kind of sits in with the rest of the drums and the rhythm section so perfectly. So that's a big reason I think why these recordings sound so great is just because of Freddie's playing and because of the instrument. And then also on congas, playing all of the congas on the album, did some overdubbing with some quinto solos, and is a very good friend of mine. His name's Jean-Christophe Leroy. And Jean and I go...
Haitian?
I'm sorry?
Is he Haitian? It's just a very Haitian sounding name.
No, Jean was born in Calgary, Canada.
Okay.
And his father is from Vietnam. I believe he's half Vietnamese. Is
that right?
And so he's kind of like French, Vietnamese, Canadian background. And Jean is a tremendously deep well of knowledge of Cuban folkloric drumming. Mitch mentioned the Michael Spiro's name. John's kind of like a Michael Spiro type who happens to live in Chicago. He's been to Cuba a billion times. He's a practicing santero, and he plays bata and folkloric Cuban drumming. And for my money, he's the top cat around.
Awesome.
And just a super nice guy. So I've known John for at least a decade. Even before I moved to Chicago, I've been in contact with John, and I was really excited that he was on board with this project because he just brought it.
Awesome. And I just want to ask if you guys, I know some of you brought your own kind of tunes to it, so it might be hard not to be biased, but are there any standout tracks on this album for you? I know you've already talked a good deal about some of the tracks, but if you had to name, maybe one or two each, do you have any kind of standouts or favorites?
Richard's playing on Jingle Bells is ridiculous. I'm just like, he's just, I mean, the groove, hits so hard, and then there's this flight of improvisation at the end, just takes you to this like, just complete, it's like an ascension. It was like, oh man. Oh, yeah, we should probably press, you should mute all the vibraphone takes and then just press all the rest of it as alternates, man. Like, it was so good.
No, it was just a good vibe on that tune. And even listening to it, when I listen back, I'm like, nobody will believe this was the last song we did.
Right, yeah, that was the last one.
It's the last
Right.
song at nighttime after we did all these bunch of takes.
We
Yeah,
were
we
so
did, like,
gassed out,
4
and then
takes.
you just hit it. Oh my god.
We had done like, and I agree. That's I think that's inarguably the strongest track on this album. For me, and that was the last take of the night. We
Yeah,
had done three takes of it, and it was pretty good. And I think we were, almost like, yeah, we got this. And then we were like, yeah, let's just do one more. Let's just do one more. And then I thought the piano was going to come crashing down through the ceiling on that fourth take. And it's just fire. I mean, that just really became the highlight of the whole session. And it was the last thing. And maybe it's because we've been playing together all day, so we're starting to
Yeah.
feel
Finally
each other.
feeling it, right? Yeah. I know.
You never know with music, man. Sometimes the first take will just be, that's like all you need. Sometimes, it just, I don't know. I mean, I've
We had
recorded
a couple
bit.
of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, that was it, and what's next?
Yep. Yeah,
But
that was the first half of the day.
right.
So,
What was so interesting though too is like, sorry, that like, we all kind of came in together and like listen to each other's ideas, and there was like and what was so great is that like I couldn't come down for the rehearsal, but we were all still like the collaboration and the openness to everybody's ideas and suggestions and stuff. It was beautiful, it wasn't like, this is how my arrangement goes and this is what it was like, hey, let's try this. What about this? Can we try it this way? And even under these circumstances, it's like, oh, this, because we've been, working on music by ourselves in our basements for so damn long that like having the experience and like an open opportunity to collaborate on this music with just like being really open was so thrilling. And like, man, I'm still riding from that. Having not gotten to do that in a really long time. It was such a I hate to use he said it. It was such a gift. Was definitely a regalito. Was that, being able to collaborate on this music after not being shelled up for so long.
Yeah. And then having Nick there, we had an engineer.
Yeah, we had an engineer too.
Yeah, I was talking to him. We're getting ready to do other projects. He was like, man, this is amazing. He said, I've never been in a room while engineering. Usually I'm in a separate room. He said, just the feeling. He was like, whatever you got, sign me up.
Oh my God, that's so great.
Yeah, so we're doing something tomorrow and next week. He's like, I'm there.
Awesome. So he just oversaw kind of, the recording process.
Yeah, the engineering, the computer stuff, the tracking, helping with the mics and all.
Not that it matters really for like the write-up, but is he running like Pro Tools or Logic or?
Pro Tools, yeah,
Pro Tools.
that's what I have. Yep.
I've never, I just use Ableton because I just find it intuitive and I don't do anything serious. Pro Tools is like a nightmare to me. I've messed with it once. All right, so just curious in terms of any thoughts about gigging the record. You're talking about this spirit of collaboration and kind of riding that high. I know things are complicated with COVID, and we're also in May. But any thoughts about hoping, looking forward by Christmas time that you guys might be able to get out and do some of this?
My schedule is completely booked. I don't have any time for performing at all. I'm totally booked solid from September 1 of this year to April of next year. I can't. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I want to bring this band to Milwaukee, and we would slay. We would totally slay.
No, I have
no pun intended.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Yes. Oh.
Okay, now that you're gone, Eric, you want to get a word in edgewise?
About whether we're going to play
gigging?
live?
Have you guys
discussed
gigging at all?
That was one of the first things that everybody was asking at the recording session. When are we going to gig? So I think that everybody's on board with that. So yeah, hopefully we can make that happen. I certainly hope so.
No, there'll be some stuff happening. Had a guy last night was like, yeah, let's bring him in here. So right now it's just a management thing. For me at this
Yeah.
point, it's like trying to get help in all these different projects. It's,
Right.
you know, so it'll happen. It's just how much time I've got and getting some help.
Awesome. Well, I unfortunately have another engagement in 7 minutes, so I need to wrap up here, but I just want to thank you guys for a really fun interview, and I'm looking forward to doing the write-up, and I'm going to be, communicating with Richard so he can share stuff as he sees fit, and hopefully you guys enjoy it and appreciate it. I just want to say again, to reiterate, if you have anything that comes up right now, you never know how these things work. You're going to open your fridge in like 7 hours and you might think, oh, like, I should have mentioned that in the interview. So if anything like that happens in the next 24 or 48 hours, please feel free to just email it and I'll be happy to take that into account for the write-up. Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you, David.
Congrats on your project. It sounds awesome. I wish I was in the room for that last take on Jingle Bells, but I'm looking forward to hearing it eventually. And Richard, I'll be in communication with you about some details and things like that.
Cool.
All righty. Okay. Take care, guys.
All right.
Peace and love.